with crazy trade ideas. The Hornets play the Pelicans tonight. Is there a way they could steal Zion from New Orleans? We'll talk about that today and relive 90s nostalgia on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. You can check us out anywhere you get your podcast. You can also check us out on YouTube, where we are currently live doing a HIVE Live Fun Friday. And that means David Walker is on the broadcast with us. David, how are you doing today, man?
I'm great. It's March Madness, guys. It's basketball wall to wall.
I'm so excited.
Hornets. I mean,
so
come
excited.
on.
Yeah. I know your Heels got a win last night, looking dominant over the Virginia Cavaliers. Does that scare you, or are you like hyped up now that you're getting into NCAA tournament play and they're playing so well?
Well, it's not just my Heels. I really feel like it's America's team at this point. After last Saturday, I think everyone was really pulling.
I
didn't know. Hold on. I didn't know we were going to do some Heels talk. Hold on.
All right, go ahead. Doug, go get your heel stuff. This is Wes Bryant's move. Why are you taking his shtick? You're just okay. I didn't realize you had that on the goal.
I know we were going to sit here and do some Heels talk.
Oh man,
look,
that's impromptu right there.
I like you covering your eye. You know that you should just have.
I didn't know we were going to do some Heels talk. All right, let's do this.
There's Ramses. What's up, man? No, that we can do some Heels talk later on. I'm sure Michael Jordan would be about it. But huge win for the Heels last night over the Cavs. So we'll see what happens in the ACC tournament. But we're not here to talk about the Heels. We are here to talk a little bit about Duke, but really in the sense that we're talking about a former Duke star in Zion Williamson. So the Hornets, they play the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. They have been without Zion forever, it seems like. And they also, by the way, don't have Brandon Ingram and they don't have CJ McCollum. We'll get to that just a little bit later in the show. Second segment, we'll talk about excuses mantra, how bad this would be of a loss if they indeed did come up with the L. But let's talk about Zion first, because Zion's from South Carolina. He went to Duke. He has spent his whole life really playing basketball in the Carolinas, except for when he was drafted in the NBA. And people are kind of making some stuff like at the beginning where you wonder if he would kind of demand a trade to go somewhere else. He glows up when he talks about or playing about playing against the New York Knicks, I should say. It just never felt like it's a great fit for Zion in New Orleans. We haven't seen him a while. I mean, a lot of trade speculation. Doug, I know you have talked with Jake Madison of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, and you were talking to him in the sense that, hey, what would it take to get a Zion? Is this one of your crazy trade ideas that you're trying to cook up for the Hornets?
Well, so here's what happened. I was chopping it up with him on the Locked On NBA water cooler, just hanging out. And he mentioned, we were talking about the Zion issues. And, I just casually said, hey, what would it take? What would it take to get Zion, to peel Zion away from the franchise in your expert, speculative opinion? And he said it would take a fringe all-star plus multiple picks. And then he said, and I thought just simultaneously, we were like, well, the Hornets have a fringe all-star right now that they could sign and trade in Miles Bridges, and they have multiple first-round future picks. It honestly makes almost too much sense. I can't think, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with this, but I can't think of a more perfect offensive player to pair with LaMelo Ball than Zion Williamson. And if there is an opportunity to peel him away, then I think the Hornets have to pursue it.
Yeah, this is not as crazy. This is by far one of your least crazy ideas, Doug. I will just give that approval right there. I had the same thought like around midseason, because it's clear it's not working out in New Orleans. They do not like each other. I mean, is he back in New Orleans? Is he still in Portland? He went there to rehab, I guess.
I think he now is.
He is
at
back.
Least around the New. I think he's in the state.
It's
I'm not
weird.
Sure. Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't recall seeing updates like this. Like it's like Zion is on his way to being closer to being back with the team. Like it's not even an update of he's playing. These updates that we've seen coming out. It's bad down there. So if you're the Hornets, that's the kind of move that you have to make to add a player like Zion to this roster. I mean, that's the thing you have to look for, some depreciated value out there that you can maybe have to steal and place your bet on.
obviously the risk is there because what happens with Zion is you don't want him to be the Greg Oden comparison everybody is making him out to be. The difference in that comparison is the fact that we've actually seen tangible evidence of Zion being awesome in the NBA. He was an all-star last year. We've seen crazy production, Shaq-like form in just a little bit smaller body, shorter body, maybe not smaller, but just shorter body. And so we've seen it productive, but he's obviously not playing. We've seen him hurt before. It was a big risk. It was a big worry about Zion even coming into the NBA, about his body and whether it could hold up, and it hasn't yet. And you would be, as a small market team, getting rid of a guy that is homegrown, which I don't necessarily care as much about, but you would be getting rid of somebody that is a fringe all-star. That's hard to hit on, especially when you're talking about 11 and 12 overall selections with this team. And if Miles Bridges is also LaMelo's best friend, yikes, especially if Zion comes over and pulls some of the same stuff, doesn't really want to play here, and then wants to go to a bigger market like the New York Knicks or somewhere else, because clearly Zion is going to be somebody that demonstrates a want to so badly that there has been zero precedent of someone turning down that kind of rookie contract extension. And it just might be him that does it because of his not willingness to play with New Orleans. And so you'd be getting rid of LaMelo's best friend in Miles, a guy that is a fringe all-star, more picks to where you can't use that to trade for somebody else that might be a little bit more reliable. Whoo! Do I need to go on? Like that?
Okay,
that's scary stuff.
listen.
And I get you. Like Zion's crazy, but it's scary.
Okay. I hear you, but let me counter with this. What if none of that happened? What if?
That's true. That
What
is
if-
true.
What if he
It is
spent
good.
all this time in Portland and has improved his body significantly? I feel like he might be a vampire. Like we can't photograph him. Like it's just so strange that we haven't seen any images of Zion since that infamous commercial. But
no
what
more
if-
Mountain
what if-
Dew commercials.
Yeah,
That's
no
got
more.
to be a
That would have to
stipulation.
be to be baked into the trade deal somehow.
jokes
But
are too
Justin
easy.
brings up the point,
Don't
like
do.
he Justin on the chat here says Zion wants to go to a big market. Why would it work in Charlotte? I mean, maybe maybe that's his only desire. But I think if you paired him with LaMelo Ball and they had an extremely successful year with one another, that would satisfy both of them and put, I think, Zion realizing his full potential alongside LaMelo realizing his full potential is a playoff threat.
How much do you worry about the best friend factor in this, though? I mean, those two guys are pretty damn close. And if LaMelo is already, kind of going through some stuff right now, as we kind of heard him saying he just needs to pay attention to himself, be within himself and not pay attention to the outside noise. You don't necessarily care about getting rid of his best friend?
No. I mean, if that upsets LaMelo and he, if acquiring someone that has the potential to be a perennial all-star alongside of him, if that doesn't excite him, then I think that's a problem.
Well, what else did he say?
I think you have to
there?
understand that
You
this
just
is
flipped
this
it.
is
Yeah. So
ultimately a
no.
business.
Yeah. So not only are you not worried about it, you'd be mad at LaMelo. That I like that. You have flipped it 100. That's excellent stuff. What
Well,
about you, David?
winning solves everything, right? It's not show friends, it's show business. So
Oh,
I don't know if I was just off the dome, guys. I don't know.
It's not show friends. It's show
Right.
business.
Show business, guys. I don't know.
Show business.
Show business. And the risk is clear. Like I'm terrified that Zion may never be even a fraction of what he was just because of the weight he's carrying around on that knee. But he does seem to be a guy that, you're right, Doug. It's almost like the Sasquatch, like the pictures you see, you can't tell, like the angles. He looks huge in one.
It's like the Patterson film.
in
And
the
he's looking
next.
back. That's
the
in Portland,
pleats.
by the way. That
It's
video.
the pleats. It's the pleats and the pants.
It's the sweatsuits, the Jordan brand. We didn't talk about the Jordan brand connection, guys. I mean,
true.
come on. That.
Well,
they
that's
always
the
bring
thing.
that up.
If he can't get motivated playing for the leader of his brand, then I don't know what's going to motivate him.
Yeah, I think if you're a Charlotte small market team, this is the kind of risk that you just have to take that. If you're going to do it, right, you have to accept those risks. You have to say, all right, well, we've got a year or two, whatever, to convince him to be here, to show him he can play with LaMelo. He played with Lonzo, I believe, right, New Orleans, and seemed to like that. Okay. So, I mean, he may have a feel for the ball family.
I could be wrong about this, but it's true. I could be wrong about this. I do think Zion was not exactly pleased with their trade of Lonzo. I don't know if
who was.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I also I think Zion was kind of boys with Lonzo Ball, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I did see that. I thought somewhere.
I think two young guys like LaMelo and Zion. I mean, come on, you talk about marketing potential right there.
Well, the other
that could be electric.
Right. And the risk of being a small market team having to try to capitalize on these opportunities is the thing that makes the most sense. That would be the number one argument if you were pro trade for Zion. You're not going to have a guy of that caliber, that young, to go after, especially in the city of Charlotte. I kind of liken it a little bit to Toronto when DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, best bros, family, one of the best friendships on the camera we saw. And they trade DeRozan, but they trade him for Kawhi Leonard, and he stays there for a year and they get a championship. You know, Kawhi Leonard is somebody really established, a little bit risky, but they were also in a different, like Charlotte's on the come up. Toronto was going to have to blow it up if they didn't trade for Kawhi. And so they kind of had all right, let's just go for Kawhi. If he doesn't like it here and this thing goes to shambles, we were going to be in shambles anyway. Here, you're starting to try to make something, and that is a good way, if it doesn't work out, to completely rip out the foundation.
Before we move off of this, I just want to say that there is also a risk of giving Miles Bridges a lot of money. It would be less risky if Miles Bridges took that like first 5 to 10 game stretch that he had at the beginning of this season and like expanded upon that and was in contention for most improved player. But I don't think anyone has him in contention for that award anymore because his 3-point shot has absolutely fallen off a cliff. And so I think there is serious risk in investing long-term in Miles Bridges if you are not totally certain he has all-star potential and could be, the second, third best player on your team. So that risk is there. You know what the old school Hornets, the 80s, 90s version, and we're going to get into some 90s nostalgia later in the show, but what those teams led by general manager Bob Bass, what those teams did so well is recognizing, hey, we have this piece of talent that has grown and people see value in it. We don't know that it has the potential to go all the way, but we could move it for other pieces. And so I think I would love to see Mitch Kupchak bring some of that Bob Bass energy and say, hey, we've done a great job developing these players, but now we have better opportunity to take that talent and bring in some other pieces that maybe fit a little bit better around the one piece that we know is the future, and that's LaMelo Ball.
Yeah. And look, those were established guys that they were trading for, but you were able to make it move, like you were able to continue to bring in all-stars. What Bob Bass did, it is pretty incredible when you go back and watch all the moves he made in order to
he turned one era of LJ and Zoe into another era of Rice and Mason into another era. So, I mean, it was incredible and kept them contending.
Yeah, no, it was
the greatest Hornets player of all time, Jamal Mashburn.
Yeah, of all time. As you get, is your jersey hanging up? I think Ramsey's in the way.
It is. I can't tilt my camera. Well, actually, no. My Mashburn one is visible in the shot. My Baron Davis is not visible. It's up a little higher. And then Kemba Walker, Bobcats memorabilia sitting here, and then an original Kemba painting there.
All right, we're gonna have
He's
to
the actual greatest Hornet player.
Now you need to create the two spaces for your Zion Hornets jersey and your LaMelo Hornets jersey.
Okay, last thing, because I know we got to move to the next segment, and I know we're limited time here with David Walker, and I want to get to some comments in the next segment too. But last thing is, wouldn't it be so sweet to pry Zion away from New Orleans and have that go sour after all of the, New Orleans took our team.
They've taken everything.
They took our team.
They took our team. Anthony Davis. Took the name. They took draft picks. They took the overall pick. Yeah, come on. We need to get something back.
Just give me one thing.
But we're getting that second round pick though, I guess, right?
Maybe.
That's right. Maybe. That'll show him too. Yeah,
we'll see.
We clearly win the battle there. All right, it's that time of year again. College basketball tournament is finally upon us. NCAA tournament March Madness is going to soon come up. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, news this season, plenty of stuff. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. Bet online, where the game starts. We're going to get to your comments. We're going to finish up some Zion thoughts, and we'll ask if we were a little too hard on the Hornets this week. That's all coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are listening to the Locked On Hornets podcast.
And Doug, don't you have an Eldon Campbell like stuffed animal type thing?
Yes, I do. I got it at the last regular season home game that they had before they left for New Orleans.
I love me some Eldon Campbell, but is that the guy?
They were clearing everything out of the house because it was whatever they gave to the fans that night, they didn't have to take with them to New Orleans.
Get more Hornets analysis on LockedOnHornets.com.
When does that trade chain end? When we're starting from Alonzo, Zoe goes to Miami for Rice. Rice goes to LA for Eddie Jones and Eldon Campbell, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? And then Eldon stays with the team and then just kind of fizzles out from there. But Eddie, he gets parlayed into Jamal Mashburn, I think. And then I think, is that where it ends?
I think it ends when the whole team went to New Orleans.
Okay.
But yes.
Fair
yes.
enough.
I think you're right.
It ends with Mo Williams in a Hornets jersey,
which was just so good. You used to have every detail of the Spencer Hawes trade or something like that. What was it, Doug?
That was the opposite. That was the bizarro chain because it ends. Yeah, I mean it goes through. It starts with Lance Stevenson.
Okay, that's
and
right.
ends up in Miles Plumlee into Dwight Howard into Bismack Biyombo.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a bad train. I don't want to go down that trade train. All right.
That ended with Biz, his second exit from the franchise.
Okay. There. So we got rid of that. Fair enough. We got rid of that just last year. Do you want to get to some comments before we talk about the last couple of games and ask if we've been too hard on them?
Yeah, let's go scrolling, everybody.
Scrolling? All right, let's scroll.
Call me Fehu says Zion for Terry and Gordon plus a first. Call me. I don't think that's going to get it done. I think New Orleans is going to want. They're going to want that fringe all-star.
Terry, Gordon in a first. I mean, yeah, you would do that.
They're going to
all
need
day.
multiple firsts.
Yeah,
we didn't mention that. I mean, it's not just going to be Miles, obviously.
Right.
They're going to want first-round picks. Justin is commenting like crazy. Love it, Justin. Keep the comments coming. He says Zion and Gordon on the same team would be scary because of the injury risk.
Right.
Oh. Scary,
well,
scary.
And you know, to that point, that's true for the now. But I guess the hope is to move off of Gordon, you know, and at that point, you got 2 more years left of his deal. I wonder what kind of value you could get for Gordon right now. Like, who knows? But he's right. Justin's right for sure.
Well, and there's value, I think, for multiple players on this team, including PJ. Coucher says, I really don't want to trade PJ, but we have to. He can be an efficient all-around 3-and-D high-level role player, but we also have Miles as a near all-star at the 4. And so that's the whole thing with Miles, too. Like I think ultimately the franchise has to make a decision about, you know, what direction they want to go in the forward position.
At some point, they've never had more trade value. Honestly, I mean and kudos to Mitch. They've never had more attractive assets than they do right now.
Hit on your draft picks.
Zion doesn't help your rim protection at all.
Oh
so
no, not at all.
Right. So you still have to, even if you get Zion, you've got to address that gaping hole at the center.
Well, that's the problem. And talking about making a decision on the forwards, I mean, I feel like they already have. They just they haven't carried out that decision yet, right? I mean, they're going to keep Miles. They're going to try to keep him around and pay him. And PJ clearly has been the one they're willing to move. They're just not going to sell him for anything less than 100 cents on the dollar at this point. So I mean, and certainly not less than 80. So Miles is going to be the guy. But it's a good point. If you trade Miles, PJ can get paid a little bit, be that high-level role player, and then you can go to work with Zion and LaMelo if that were to be the case in this Charlotte Hornets alternate universe. In the real universe, the Charlotte Hornets are struggling. They lost to the Brooklyn Nets. They came out with an awful effort in the first half. Eventually, that would be all that needed to happen for them to take that L. Oh, yeah, and Kyrie Irving goes for 50 points on 19 shots. I didn't take it in real time because I was just focusing from the Hornets angle of things, how bad it was. But if you go to the Brooklyn side of stuff and just watching basketball as a fan, it's one of the best performances I've ever seen in person. I think I saw a KD triple-double for Golden State once, but like Kyrie with 50 points on 19 shots. I didn't appreciate that in real time because I was looking at how bad the Hornets were going to look after that. Anyways, I saw that, and then I saw Jason Tatum go for 44 on 24 shots, which is worse and still ridiculous. So point being, we just saw Brooklyn destroy Philadelphia last night. No Ben Simmons, just obliterate him. We also know that Boston has been playing like the best basketball team in the NBA for a long time now. Stephen A. Smith dubbed it on First Takes. That's all you need to know. Both of those teams playing really well. Have we been too hard on them for the way they played the last two games, or are we cool with saying, no, it doesn't matter. I don't care how well they've played. We still need to berate them for the way that they came out with their effort in the first half of that Nets game and their execution in some of the game against Boston. David, we'll start with you. How hard have we been on the Hornets, and is it justified?
Yeah, man, a back-to-back, you take that into consideration too. The hottest team in the NBA coming in town. But the thing that's frustrating, I think, with the Celtics is it was there for the taking for a large portion of that game. The Hornets were right in there. They were not playing well. They needed one guy maybe to hit, or I had a crazy idea just watching that game. Stop one person, like stop somebody, keep somebody in front of you, keep just somebody away from the basket. Just one. Asking. Just and one. Maybe then it gets contagious. I mean, that is where I fall on this being too hard on the Hornets. When you watch these games, it is beyond frustrating to see teams just get to the basket at will. There's just no there's just no resistance at all on defense, and I think that's the frustrating part. But I don't think, and the expectations on this team, what they want to accomplish, I don't think it's being too hard on them. I mean, they are playing with these teams for good portions of the game, minus most of the Nets game. But that Celtics game was there, and they just could not tighten up. The little things are constantly coming back to haunt them, and they just can't get consistent across the board in those things for a long enough stretch to put together a few wins. And, big week coming up, obviously, but I think the criticism is warranted right now for what we're seeing.
What about you,
I'm looking, I'm thinking about like the greatest performances I've ever seen in person, and the one that comes to mind for me was Kemba Walker's 60 points.
You went to that game. That's cool.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, so I wanted to just compare what Kemba's true shooting percentage in that game was versus what Kyrie's. So I'm scrolling.
That's what you do.
So that's, if you think back to that 76ers game, there was a loss, unfortunately, but Kemba went 21 of 34, so a 62% field goal percentage on those 60 points. Just absolutely insane. 6 of 14 from 3. His true shooting percentage was 76.4%. As I stated on the episode where we recapped the Brooklyn Nets game, Kyrie's true shooting percentage was 101%.
Crazy.
Yeah, man, I'm never going to see anything like it.
His offensive rating was 172. I mean, Kemba's was 120.
I mean, on a 60-point performance, which 60 pointers, that's crazy rare. Especially in person, to see a 60-point performance. I hate that Jimmy Butler spoiled all that, man. Just coming back, hitting that shot. It is classic. What do you think, Doug? What do you think about what David had to say?
I think we were appropriately hard on them for the Brooklyn Nets game.
I agree.
Because I think of the way they started, and their intent to start that game was not correct. They didn't respond in the first half, and I argue that it led to the 50-point game. The 50-point game was not one of these games that I thought was inevitable. It became inevitable once the Hornets decided, we're not going to really come out here with the right effort in the first half. And I think superstars have a bit of a sense of that, of like, oh, this other team actually isn't trying. I think I have an opportunity here to do something special. And Kyrie got going. And once you allow them to get going like that, and they don't have to, Brooklyn did not have to adjust their game at all. So it allowed, I think, that 50-point game to happen. Boston, maybe. But we've seen the Hornets play well against, it's been rare, but they've played well against good defensive teams before. They have to recognize the opportunity. They made plenty of mistakes. You can't let Robert Williams I think he had 6 offensive rebounds in the first quarter. It was these things, these little outlier things, I think. I think we're being appropriately hard on them given the level of talent that they've acquired.
Well, no, I agree too. And really going to David's point about stopping somebody else, it's exactly what I talked about against Brooklyn. If the Stars are going to get theirs, no matter how much you try to stop them, then don't let Marcus Smart go for 12, Robert Williams go for 11, Horford go for 10, and Derek White go for 11 on good shooting, 50% for Horford. 5 of 7 shooting from Robert Williams. Jalen didn't shoot all that well, but Marcus Smart went 6 of 12 from the field. Derek White went 5 of 11, missed a lot of shots from deep, but it just means he got to the rim pretty well. Like, that's the thing. If Jason Tatum is going to go for 44, fine. That's tough. He hit tough shots, though. Like, they were really contested for a large portion of that. And then you look at Kyrie, kind of same thing. And what's frustrating is when James Borrego's saying, we're not going to go one-on-one with these guys, you're just going to destroy us. They're going to destroy you anyway. I mean, they're that talented offensively. Don't let Bruce Brown, don't let Marcus Smart, don't let Robert Williams, don't let Andre Drummond beat you. And that's what happened. So that's the frustrating part, especially with there's no excuse for that late game or late third quarter execution or non-execution. I mean, that was just awful from Charlotte. That's just beating yourself in some sense and then getting the technical foul. That's not Boston being the best team we've seen for the last month. That's you being awful in that situation.
Yeah, I think fan expectations have been pretty clear. I mean, I don't think that the general fan base was expecting Charlotte to contend, but they expected Charlotte, full of young players who have something to prove, to compete.
Yeah.
And over this stretch, even, since the All-Star game, I haven't seen that level of competition and urgency. That's the thing. Hornets fans have urgency. They see, we have a potential superstar on our hands in LaMelo Ball. I hope the organization and the rest of the players around LaMelo are urgent to take advantage of that fact and take advantage of the time. And we're just not seeing that.
And they also can see the standings, right, Doug? I mean, I know the players can as well, but the fans are looking at these saying, hello, like, you don't have a cushion. You have very little margin of error at this point to stay in the play-in game. And I think you fall out of that play-in game this year, which I think would be disastrous for this team, given what they did last year and the start they had this year. And so they're expecting a team that comes out after a break, I don't care who it's against, and be ready to go. And that Nets game, to your point, Doug, they were not. That's that. I don't know how you explain that. Like, from a coaching, from a player, from, you hear what Terry had to say after the game. I don't know how you explain that, not being ready to go. This stretch right now coming up, I mean, they're all big, but these are very winnable games in front of you. I don't care if they're on the road.
Well, it's an interesting situation, right? Because they play the Pelicans, so winning against the Pelicans actually hurts their opportunity to acquire that first round pick.
Sure.
But losing to the Pelicans is going to help to ruin their opportunity to
that would be
play.
You talk about bad luck, losing to the Pelicans after this week, after getting destroyed. And by the way, just so everybody knows, the Pelicans will be without Brandon Ingram. Yep. Maybe for both of the games that they have in this 5-game stretch. In fact, it looks pretty likely. I think Brandon Ingram is going to get evaluated 7 to 10 days from yesterday or 2 days ago because he had that hamstring injury. So we'll see, but he's going to be out tonight. No Zion, obviously, and CJ McCollum is not going to play because he's out due to health and safety protocols. Yeah. Look,
Devontae Graham, ultimate Devontae Graham revenge game incoming. Now, seriously, that would be some poetic karma if Devontae Graham, put a 40 burger on the Hornets tonight and helped their draft pick odds that they got for the trade, but buried the Hornets. That would. So
what you're saying, it's a win-win. If we lose, then we're going to get a better draft pick.
Can't lose tonight.
Yeah.
I like that
can't
idea.
lose opportunity. Love that. Hey, before we go to the next segment, I have to get David's thoughts on the LaMelo Ball situation. The comments that he made after the game. I don't know if you heard them, but he says, he's obviously frustrated. He said, people were getting in his head. He's just got to be him. What do you think about these comments, the relationship with Borrego? What are you thinking here? Is there trouble in paradise?
I didn't read that deep into it, to be honest. I haven't got to the point where I'm
taking
the
magnifying glass out.
I'm not taking a lot of weight from LaMelo's post games just yet. That they all are painted with a similar brush, and I think he was just more waxing poetic than giving a peek behind the curtain to the locker room. But me with the thing, LaMelo, he looks worn down mentally, and like his game is just not as smooth. You said it this week, though. Like, a lot of those turnovers, especially in the Boston game, herky jerky, like doesn't look like it's just as dialed in as
going
it
to
was.
The floater, I mean, going to the floater a lot. Like the floater needs to be locked in. It has to be a part of his.
That's what.
It has to be a part of his game. But I think if it's a significant part of his game and you trade that for threes, that's not a great trade.
Yeah,
to trade the floater for the threes.
I think there's just a lot of frustration in there right now, and a lot of frustration all across the board. And they look worn down, man. They look tired. I don't know what to say. To me, we'll see how they come out over the weekend. But after the All-Star break, I expected to see a little more bounce, and just not seeing it from anyone. But I mean, LaMelo, Borrego, I'm not reading too much into that right now. I'm good right now.
You're good on that.
You're gonna hold. You're still
I'm
holding.
I'm holding.
All right, that's it. Well, we'll relive some 90s nostalgia then. We'll get off of the drama that could be surrounding the Charlotte Hornets locker room. This is the time of year that a lot of people have given up on New Year's resolutions. I'm telling you, you don't have to. In fact, there's an easy way to stick with it, especially if it means staying fit. Go to Built.com and get Built Bar packages. If you've tried the Puffs, they're great. The original OG staple flavors, they're amazing. Everything is covered in 100% chocolate. They're fluffy. They're really good. And also, they're high in protein and high in fiber, but low in sugar and low in calories, low in carbs as well. They're healthy for you, just flat out healthy for you. Get Built Bars. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. I made up a game. We're going to play with Doug and David. 90s nostalgia coming up next. Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
I'm a little. Listen, hold on. Now, see,
we couldn't just blow by that one.
Well,
you had
because this is what frustrates me. I'm under the weather. I'm not at 100% right now, and you're just taking it to me. You're like one of these people that knew Nick Batum had a hand injury, and they were just slapping his hand because it's like we're gonna knock this guy's hand because we know he's injured, and that's what you're doing to me right now. But I just want to say, Sam, if you're listening, you're more than a numbers guy. You have heart, you have soul, you have agency. You are a person. Love you, Sam.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
All right. Doug texted me as soon as I saw it like an hour before. And then Doug texted both of us. I think it was in the group chat where he said, "Hey, we need to talk about this on Friday." And it was an ad promoted to us. A lot of Hornets followers, I imagine, would have this kind of ad promoted to them as well.
But it was old algorithm.
Yes, that's right. It landed. It actually absolutely worked for us. And it was Miles Bridges advertising Dunkaroos. Yes, the snack time. It was like the icing, the cookies that you would dip into the icing that I haven't thought about in a long time until Miles Bridges was sitting there in front of me on my phone screen saying, "Try these things once again, even if it is the 2020s." Doug, I know you wanted to say a couple things about this. It looks great. Like it's a perfect marketing campaign for Miles Bridges to be a part of.
Dunkaroos. He's certainly not going to advertise anything with 3 in the name right now, so might as well go with Dunkaroos.
Nice burn.
So I'm just stating facts. I'm not burning anyone. I'm just telling you what the deal is.
That's true.
So yeah, perfect fit. I'll say that number one. Love some Dunkaroos as a kid. I'm surprised they're still around. That's the thing that surprised. I was like, oh, Dunkaroos are still a thing. Are Lunchables still a thing?
Lunchables are still a thing.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Lunchables are definitely still a thing.
My question for David, who has kids of an age that we were when we consumed Dunkaroos, have children's snacks gotten any healthier? Are they still a disaster like Dunkaroos?
Oh yeah. You can get any type of natural, gluten-free or vegan or
gluten-free Dunkaroos.
Yeah. There's nothing fun. It's like carrot sticks and hummus,
vegan,
it's no one likes
vegan funfetti.
Yeah, no one's dunking any of those things, but yeah, certainly you
dunking them in the trash can.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to school in the backpack and they're just staying there for weeks on end.
That's like the 2022 dunk contest Dunkaroos. We don't need. Nobody wants to see that. It's brutal.
The whole commercial's great. I can't play it because I'm scared of copyright and the YouTube monsters coming in and denying us this video. So I'm not going to play it, but go check it out. So you can find it on Twitter. You've probably already been served because all of the robots know exactly what you're thinking. But the even the commercial has some 90s nostalgia baked in. You have a lot of different colors and
Zubaz patterns.
I think it's we are all now getting marketed to because we are of the age, myself, really all of us now. Walker's a little baby boo, but he's
Right.
We all have now we all now have disposable income. So all of these, all these places are coming to us for money, and so the 90s nostalgia is strong.
Yeah, I wonder if there's the adult version of the Dunkaroos, or if they just kind of plan on us going back and eating the cookies. Maybe they are trying to make it healthy for all of us 90s kids. All right.
Yeah, I think once you become an adult, you lose there was a pleasure in taking the thing and dunking it into the Dunkaroo, and the delivery vehicle was the thing. Now I'm just like, give me a cookie. Boom. I'll scoop the icing out of the container.
Right.
Throw that in there too. Why not?
Which defeats the purpose of Dunkaroos, because you're not dunking anything. At that point, it's just cookies and icing. So you got to dunk it. That's the way you have to eat it. All right, real quickly, rapid fire. I'm trying to match up Hornets players, former Hornets / Bobcats players with other 90s logos that might hit you when you were a kid. Some are bad, some are good. We're just going to roll through them. How about the Kimba Walker Klondike bar when he has ice in his veins? You like that? Okay.
Kimba Klondike. Yeah.
Klondike.
That plays.
You got
that
a little
plays.
alliteration
Okay.
there. It's a good play.
What about Walter Erman advertising troll dolls with his hair?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Troll
that's
dolls
a good
were
one.
a thing.
Okay.
Were a thing.
LaMelo Ball could advertise Blockbuster because he always puts on a show.
Ooh.
You like that one?
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
Excellent
God
place.
knows.
Michael Jordan, ring pops. Obvious reasons.
Love it.
6 of
Rangs.
them.
It would have to be Rang Pops.
It would have to be Ranks Pops. That's the only argument I need, Sean. Finally, baby, go ahead. Go ahead, Doug.
I got one to throw out. Gordon Hayward. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
That's right. Yeah, he's not here. He's hurt. Carmen
Can't
Sandiego
find him.
is out 6 to 8 weeks. So that's where Carmen Sandiego is. All right. Finally, the Baby Bugs lineups. Remember how young they were a couple of years ago? They'd throw in when they were trying to pivot to youth. How about them just all having a beanie baby like Eldon Campbell did? So the Baby Bug Beanie Babies, if you like alliteration.
Oh, yeah.
David,
well, there's a
anything?
LaMelo doll coming out, right? I'm sure you've seen this on the socials. LaMelo, have they given it away, or are they giving it away? You guys know what I'm talking about? It looks like a Beanie Baby, but I don't think it's technically a Beanie Baby.
The best thing I got from the Hornets lately, it's the bobblehead where Eric Collins and Del Curry, that's coming out. Stick around for it in the next week or so. Eric Collins, Del Curry, you can press the button and they have some of the better calls. Hum Diddly Dee.
Oh, dude! Oh my gosh, dude! Those are really wow.
They did not have the how or ow call on that, which is unfortunate.
We've got to add that in. Yeah,
we do.
Unbelievable.
All right.
Snag me one of those, Walker.
I don't know if I can. I'm sorry.
No,
all right. Thanks for
can.
making Locked On
Use your
Hornets.
powers. You have influence. I need you to use your powers and give me one of those.
Yeah, they probably would give me some like trash version or something like that. And then that's the one I would give you. You're welcome. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every single day. Thanks to David for joining us this fun Friday. Make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday. Also in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your pods. We'll see what the Hornets do tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans, and we'll be back Monday to recap it all. Have a great weekend.